Hi, I'm Christopher Warnock, and today I'd like to talk about wealth talismans in general. I'd like to talk about house-based talismans, and I also like to talk about our new bronze triple tree infinite wealth talisman. So really, wealth talismans, I think without a doubt, are our most popular talisman. And it's not surprising. I think everybody needs to focus on having some kind of income. Obviously, this is the base for so much else in terms of practicality in our life. Not having money is a problem, and everybody could always use an additional amount of money. So it's something people are really focused on, something people are really want to use magic for, and there's actually an incredible range of exciting talismans and options that you can use in terms of wealth talismans. Um, so I'm going to walk through some. I'm going to show you some talismans from Renaissance Astrology. You can see the links to these in the YouTube description page. You can follow that link to the Renaissance Astrology website. Take a look at these talismans and see if that's something that you're interested in. And also, if you're serious about getting a Renaissance Astrology talisman, I am very happy if you want to email me with your birth information to take a look and see which talismans are compatible. If you have a specific one in mind, you say, hey, does this fit my chart? I'd be happy to take a look at that and do that for you. Make sure you do that before you order. Ordering and then deciding I want you to check it out becomes very problematic. So just check with me first. If that's what you want to do. There's also lots of different ways to do this. I mean, if you're like, no, I know this is what I want, I've been looking at progressions or transits or whatever, and I know this is the talisman I need, well, that's perfectly valid too, and go ahead and do that. So let's start with Jupiter. And I think Jupiter is probably the most popular planet for wealth talismans. I mean, he's the greater benefic. He's straight up, probably the most focused on prosperity, wealth. And therefore is a very popular choice, particularly now with Jupiter in Pisces. He's strong. I think people are thinking about Jupiter, thinking about making Jupiter talismans, and certainly it's a good time to think about getting a Jupiter talisman. So our most popular Jupiter talisman is the Crown Jupiter talisman, and this has a design from Picatrix, and these, like all of our talismans, are cast in bronze. This was cast with Jupiter in Pisces. We have lots of other Jupiter talismans. Again, you can take a look at that link and see all those Jupiter talismans. So I think, in terms of, thinking about Jupiter, he's, really, like I said, straight up wealth. The other thing with Jupiter is also wisdom. So it's kind of a nice combination there. But if you're like, no, I want a wealth talisman that will bring me wealth, and then Jupiter's a good choice. So the next possible planet in terms of wealth would be the Sun. And, the Sun is really popular as an all-around talisman. I think a lot of people look at it and see all the different things that the Sun does and says, you know what, this is a good combo talisman. Lots of talismans are sort of, a few functions are sort of, is focused on certain things. Like I said, Jupiter's focused on wealth. The Sun, though, is good for promotion, for authority, for fame. If astrologically, talk about stars, celebrities, really they should be called suns. I mean, that's really what the quality of the sun is that celebrity, that fame, that power. Now, of course, along with that goes wealth. So again, the sun is also a very popular wealth talisman. Also good for health because the sun rules the heart and is good also for mood lifting. So many different things. And probably our most popular talisman for the sun is the Sun King talisman. Again, this is another Picatrix design, cast in bronze. And these are, again, available on the Renaissance Astrology website. But again, if you think of the nuance, the sun is going to be like a king, and the king has lots of other qualities, but obviously this king's going to have wealth as well. So that's, in that sense, that's the sort of nuance of the type of wealth that you get from a sun talisman. So moving on, I think in terms of planets, the next type of wealth talisman would be Mercury. And we look at Mercury, really Mercury is about the means of attaining wealth. So you think about marketing, business, communications, definitely the planet of any kind of trading, speculation, obviously cryptocurrency, the internet, good for, like I said, promotion, for marketing, for strategy, all these sort of things. Wealth flows most definitely from mercurial activities. I would say our most popular Mercury talisman is the Mercury Peacock talisman. This is also a Picatrix design and is a very popular. We've been selling a lot of these. So those are kind of the planets that I would think of in terms of wealth: Jupiter, Sun, and Mercury. Um, Sometimes people say Venus. Now, I'd say about Venus is that Venus likes to spend money. Venus likes money, um, but Venus is really not a planet for getting money. Venus is really about pleasure, arts, things like that, love, but not a planet that I would think of in terms of really gaining wealth. That's my opinion. I mean, other people think differently, but I would say Venus is not really a planet for that. So let's look at some more exotic talismans. Um, one area that's really interesting to think about for talismans are fixed stars. The fixed stars are in the higher 8 sphere above the 7 planetary spheres, and they have a variety of different uses. Fixed stars are really well known for protection talismans, but also for wealth and good fortune. Now, when I think about wealth and good fortune, probably the talisman that comes to mind would be Spica. Spica is the sheaf of wheat in Virgo, and has a kind of a broad ambit. It's I think of a harvest, all good things, lots of good things coming in, not just wealth, but certainly wealth is, again, part of the package, something that would be go along with the Spica talisman. Now, Spica talismans, we were out of stock for a while with these. Had them back in stock. They've been extremely popular. We've been selling a lot of them. I'm kind of worried I'm going to sell out before I have a chance to make more of them. So that would probably be one of my choices I would look at in terms of fixed stars for wealth. The second one I'd look in as Aldebaran. Aldebaran is the eye of the bull of Taurus, and is said to be for riches and honor. And those are these Aldebaran talismans here. So those are kind of the two fixed stars that I would look at. There's actually lots more constellations, things like that, but those are sort of the focal points I would have in terms of wealth and good fortune for fixed stars would be Spica and Aldebaran. So when we pass on, though, the next type of talisman that we're going to talk about are house-based talismans. Now, these are kind of mysterious, very interesting, definitely the highest of high magic. These are the absolute most difficult of all talismans to make because the elections are so hard to find. They're really incredibly special times, when all the factors line up. Many, many different factors you're looking at. I mean, typically, my experience is that we would have maybe once or twice a year, we have an hour, and that's the only time that we're going to have all these factors line up. House-based talismans, rather than depending on the power of one planet and finding the energy or qualities of one planet, are house-based and use multiple planets ruling specific houses. So we look for the houses we're interested in to make sure the house rulers are strong and well aspected if possible, and then make a talisman with those times. These appear to have been discovered by the Huronian Sabians, who are the key heirs of the Hermetic tradition, really master mages and astrologers. They would have to be to make these because they're so impossible. I mean, my students, when they get to this lesson in the astrological magic course, are always really frustrated with and recognize how difficult these are to make. So where your usual planetary fixed star talisman might have, say, 3 to 5 factors, which makes them very strong. These typically will have, you can have 8, 10, and they may even have call for 15 factors. Usually you can't get 15. The talisman I'm going to talk about today has 10 factors, which is absolutely incredible to have that many factors elected in the chart. Very hard to do, very unusual. So our newest house-based talisman is the Triple Tree Infinite Wealth Talisman. And that's right here. Picatrix says that these talismans are for money in great quantities and for good fortune in all your undertakings. They're called the Infinite Wealth Talisman because they have a special infinite wealth sigil on it. Very interesting. It was a combination of the sort of infinity symbol and a dollar sign. And it's interesting because the artist, Robert Place, who's a very well-known esoteric artist, he did the design for these. He said to me when he was doing the design, it sort of came to him. And he said, I really got to put this on here. I really like this sigil. It was essentially manifested for him, again, I believe from the Anima Mundi, and revealed to him. So this is really cool, and it also comes with Place's really gorgeous infinite triple tree wealth talisman image. This is a consecration image. All the Renaissance astrology talismans come with a booklet. This has sort of general information about talismans, Also includes the chart, description of the talisman, and then also this has got the invocation and consecration instructions in it. So all of our talismans include a booklet. They also all include the, like I said, this postcard size image. Everyone's different, obviously, for the personal consecration and meditation. I like to use these, put them up on the wall, say maybe above a bookshelf to create my altar space. So I'll put that image up on the wall, and then I'll put a candle and incense in front of it for the invocation. That's, of course, very important. So when our talismans are made, they're always, at the time of making, they're consecrated to draw the spirit into them, the angel. And then when you get the talisman, we highly recommend that you do a personal consecration, invoke the spirit of the talisman to establish and then maintain your relationship, and then periodically to do invocations. Pretty straightforward, just light candles and incense, and you can do the invocation they provide. If you want to get jiggy with it, you can get it as elaborate as you want. That's up to you as whether you want to do that or not. So these house-based talismans, very interesting. One of the things that's very interesting about this is that these are one of the planets involved is Saturn. Now Saturn is extremely strong right now. He's +8. He's dignified by sign in Aquarius and triplicity, so he's extremely strong. And when he's that strong, he really becomes a benefic. A lot of the problems that people think of with Saturn are taken away by his strength, particularly in Aquarius, which is a great placement for him. It's hot and wet and really balances his cold and dry character. And the interesting thing about Saturn is that, as Picatrix says, in the Picatrix, this is the invocation that's included with that I use for Picatrix whenever I invoke Picatrix. It says, calls upon Saturn as the one who says, "You who bring increase and who destroy, whose disfavor brings misery and whose favor happiness." So this is somebody you really want to have on your side. If Saturn's on your side, if Saturn's in your court, then you can be sure that he's going to be the remover of obstacles for you, the opener of doors, and great to have him firmly on your side. And that's very much what's going on with this chart. He rules the 10th house, which is the house of fame, of reputation, of success, and you've got that positive Saturn energy working for you in that talisman in a really good way. So I'm very excited about having these talismans. We haven't had this particular design for a long, long time. It was very hard to find the selection, and I'm really happy that we got it. And obviously, now is a time that people are concerned about wealth, fame, reputation, things like that. I think people are opening businesses, have their own gigs that they're working on. It's a great way, I think, to strengthen that and start working on it talismanically. Like I said, if you're serious about getting a Renaissance Astrology talisman, email me. Email address is in that YouTube description there. And send me the birth date, and I can check the talisman compatibility. Again, remember to email before you order if you want me to check. So let's just talk a little bit about wealth talismans. I think that, generally I'm dealing with a pretty sophisticated audience that has a decent understanding of how magic works, but let me just delve into this a little bit. Magic is real. We're not talking about a movie here. This is not a fantasy. This is something that actually works and actually has an effect. So what that means is it can't be instantaneous and it can't be completely all powerful. There's really no way to know what exactly the effects, if any, of a talisman are going to be for a particular person. And many of my clients are happy, some are not happy. And the thing I would say about wealth talismans is, Jason Miller, it's one of the things I really like about what he says. He says, make a practical plan and then use magic to make it better. I think this is very wise. I mean, the talisman is essentially going to be able to give you a boost, and it's not going to just create, bags of gold out of nowhere. If I have people that call me up and say, can I win the lottery? I basically just say, no, don't buy it. Don't buy a talisman. Similarly, if you're like, I'm desperate, I need money immediately, I can't pay the rent, then I would save your money and spend it on the rent. And talismans are not good for instantaneous, quick fix of things. It's much more of a long-term thing, and also, it gives you an edge. I think the edge stuff is very interesting because if you think about, say, a 1% edge, like I can get a 1% edge, but say, what's the point? That's 1% is nothing. If you go to a casino and you play blackjack, the house has a 1% odds in its favor oftentimes. And with that 1%, they can take every penny that you've got. If you count cards, you can move that edge 1% in your direction, and with that 1%, it's so deadly to the casinos and so much hits their bottom line that they're going to throw you out for card counting. So while it seems like a small edge like that, what's the point? In fact, if you're wise about it and careful about it, it can be extremely useful. And I think that talismans can do even better than that. I had an interesting experience. This is last month. I have a regular invocation I do of a wealth talisman, actually, for all good things. And when this was a mansion talisman, it's another example of different types of talismans. And so did the invocation, and boy, I had the best amount of business of the entire month right on that day that I did the invocation. Now, I have an internet business. Doesn't take that much to go ahead and have an effect on that. I can see it pretty easily. There's a flow, a channel already going there. And so the effects can manifest very easily and very clearly for me. If you're unemployed, if you had a job with a set salary with no bonuses, then it's much harder for that to manifest in your life. It's much harder for the angel to have that positive effect for you. Not to say it wouldn't, but it really helps to have a way to manifest and have a channel. So obviously, like I say, if an internet business or gigs, or you're trying to get business or trying to do that, it's I think a good way to work on it. So definitely, I think that wealth talismans, there's lots of options, really exciting. I'm particularly excited about our new triple tree infinite wealth talismans. I think that being able to harness the power of all these planets is a really great way to work with talismanic magic. But go ahead, if you're interested, you can check out those links, take a look at the different types of talismans. Let me know if you want me to check your chart, and kind of launch yourself into the exciting world of using astrological magic to increase your earnings, increase your wealth, and to see if you can use that edge to help increase your prosperity.